Hello and welcome to the 4th episode
Oh my
of the
gosh.
Kind of Funny Gamescast. Calm Tim is back, Greg. Just for you.
Thank you.
Just kidding. I'm Tim Gettys. I'm here with Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller, the coolest dudes in video games.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
So-
high five, dude. We just did an awesome Resident Evil stream.
And that was fun. I liked watching that. That was pretty good.
A lot of people were annoyed.
Yeah. I didn't remember what to do either, though. Like, every time you were, like, trying to do something, you're like, what is this? I'm like, I don't remember.
It's been like years since I played that game, and how many hundreds of games have I played?
And those games are obtuse.
They are
Obtuse is a good way to put it for those old ones. Were you playing with the tank controls, or were you doing
No, I was playing with the new controls. They were a little more. They were finicky, but it's a little better without the tank controls. You can play with the tank controls on the D-pad if you want, but you shouldn't.
But you shouldn't.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
could, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. Were you excited that they re-released this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the original Resident Evil was really fun. I liked it a lot on PS1, and then the GameCube one, Remake was great. And this is just remake in widescreen with some little extra gloss on it and some new control scheme. But
I'm a fan of
yeah,
gloss.
it's cool. I would. They can learn a lot from Resident Evil and Resident Evil 4. So they did re-release Resident Evil 4 2 years ago as well on PS3. I'm hoping they're examining these two games closely, along with Resident Evil 0, which I think is super underrated, the GameCube game, to make Resident Evil 7, which hopefully won't suck. Like
Well, everybody talks about it now being. We were talking about it in the chat, right? That this could be the reboot. Resident Evil 7 reboot the series, which would be great. Resident Evil's way too complicated and crazy.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any goddamn
A
sense.
reboot
now.
would be nice.
But I want.
Reboot?
Yeah, don't think they won't make those jokes for you.
I
It's
like
gonna be
that.
good.
Just like the remake.
I liked Remake.
Remake was nice.
You guys are crazy.
It was
Just
nice.
get over it.
I
Stop
remember
it. We
that.
get it. RE's Resident Evil. Stop it. Stop shoving it into everything. But no, if they redo it and they get rid of typewriters and they make health systems that make sense and you don't control like a tank and basically they just give it to competent developers and don't do the same thing they've been doing forever, it'd be great.
Yeah. Before we get into this rigmarole of explaining the show and all that stuff.
Sure. Can we just keep talking about how much Resident Evil sucks?
No. We're talking about these HD remakes and stuff. Something I was talking about Colin a couple days ago was this Borderlands 2
Yeah.
collection coming to
Borderlands 2 and
Handsome
Borderlands
Jack
the pre-sequel. Yeah.
coming to the next gen
With
consoles.
crazy ass collector's edition that comes with an RC Claptrap.
Yeah, which is exciting.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Claptrap.
Me
And I'm
too.
a fan of RC.
Yeah.
So
You gonna get it?
No. But
They're probably all sold out at this point. There's like
Yeah,
5,000 of
probably.
them.
No. Well, then no, we're not.
So
gonna.
what upsets me about this though is it doesn't include the first Borderlands.
Why does that upset you?
Just because I'm a fan of, if it's a collector's edition, I want all of them
Get the
in
fuck
the collection.
over it.
Yeah.
No,
So here's the
totally.
thing.
You don't need it. You don't need it. You don't need it.
Explain
You don't
that.
want it.
Why?
Because Borderlands 1 was good, but Borderlands 2 was better than it in every way. So you don't even need to. That was the whole thing. Borderlands 1 to 2 was the great move on their part of they gave you, this is PlayStation obviously, my PlayStation fanboy bias speaking, that PlayStation put it up on PlayStation Plus, Borderlands 1 like a month before Borderlands 2 came out. And so you got to get in there, get a taste, and then you play 2 and you're like, holy shit, this is better in every way than 1. There's no reason to go back to 1, I think, in any way, shape, or form. And then pre-sequel, of course, this is a game that most people looked over. We're like, oh, I already have a Xbox One and a PS4. I don't want to go back and play something on last gen. That's why it's exciting to get it.
Now here's my thing, Greg.
Sure.
Whether or not I'm going to play it, I want it. I want it there. I want it part of the collection.
It's wasted resources. The games are too big nowadays to do that. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to sit there and be like, well, why didn't they toss this, that, and the other? It's just not that simple, especially when you're talking about something,
It makes sense. What you're saying makes sense. I still don't.
But you don't want the sense. You just want it.
I just want what I want.
So what if they just lied to you and said it was on there, and then you never?
If it was just a disc, like
Yeah.
there was just like a CD in there,
and they just put it, you put it in, you're like
Sharpie just said Borderlands.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that just because it's.
I mean, the
placebo
thing that's
effect.
most exciting is just that it's the only way to get pre-sequel. You know what I mean? I didn't go back and play pre-sequel because I was first off, just not enough time. Secondly, I did not want to put my PS3 back to use.
Yeah,
I wanted to
to
keep playing
connect it
PS4
again.
stuff. I want to play Xbox One stuff. So to have that now there, great trophies. Let's go. I doubt I'll ever use Borderlands 2 anything. You know what I mean?
Confirmed by Andrew Goldfarb today. Cross save.
Borderlands 2.
Yeah.
So for all the people who played it extensively on PS3, then played it on their Vita, they can now bring that save back to PS4.
Yeah.
Thank
Keep
God.
it in the family.
Yeah, Vita. It was like virtually unplayable on Vita when I played it in October. I was like, I'm gonna jump in, really get into this game, and I played on Vita. I was just like, I can't do it.
Yeah, there's just no enemies. That was the thing. It
Yeah,
worked for me, but it was like
It's
nobody.
a very vacant kind of game.
Yeah.
It was a weird. It was cool. Sony listened to people put it on. Gearbox did too. People wanted Borderlands 2 on Vita, and it was cool that they tried to make that happen. It was a good test, case, but
Yeah.
the Vita can't handle that game properly. And they didn't even have ragdoll physics in the game or like corpses.
Bring this down.
Why?
because it's like super obscuring your face.
I like it though.
I don't.
I like it
I'm
like
speaking
that.
for all the female listeners out there who want to see your face.
I like it like
Male
that.
too.
I guess female viewers. You're right. There's plenty of male viewers. I shouldn't have
big male
done that. You're
fan
right.
base. I've seen.
But the original Borderlands, I mean, it's not surprising that it's not on there. They have to spend assets to port it over, and then you have to remember that there's server costs as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing
I
too.
don't
Is that
think
that's
that
a game that's so online intensive that
Yeah.
So just shut up.
See, here's
Tim.
the thing. You guys are.
You're not even gonna play Borderlands pre-sequel.
But remember this, guys. You guys are the coolest dudes in gaming. So
Right.
you have all of your cool dude gaming friends.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, you get that side of the thing. I'm one of those guys where I'm friends with you guys, and now because of that, I'm learning to be friends with these guys. But I'm more close to these guys. I'm friends with these guys, watching and listening right now.
So these aren't cool dude gamer dudes.
They're cool gamer dudes, but they're not the coolest. They're with me.
Well, that's just us.
Some of
We're
them
the
might be.
coolest.
Yeah, no, exactly. The game developers and stuff, they are too.
Confused.
I don't
What
know
I'm
what the
saying
hell's going
is-
on here.
Are you gonna play this?
I'm one of
Are
those.
you gonna play
I'm one of the
Handsome
guys
Jack
in the
Collection?
comments
Answer that
section.
question.
No,
There you go. See?
but I want it on my shelf.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. That's what
No
I'm
one's
saying.
gonna know that Borderlands isn't in that case if it's on your shelf. No one's gonna know. It's just gonna say
I'm just
the
gonna tell
Handsome
people.
Jack collection.
I'm gonna add it on the box.
and they're gonna make assumptions.
Yes.
And that's all you need. That's all. That's it.
You're right, Colin.
Yeah.
See, Colin made me feel better.
I mean, if you
Greg.
really wanted to get angry about it, you should be angry that it doesn't include the Telltale games, in which Handsome Jack plays heavily into it.
That is upsetting as well.
So it's not even the complete Handsome Jack collection.
Now, Greg, you just gave me a great segue into the first topic.
We call
which
them Greg
is-
ways. Wait, you didn't do the rigmarole.
I know,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay,
I'm saying, which is the great, the whole Telltale thing we're going to talk about. But before that, I want to give you guys the rigmarole of Kind of Funny Gamescast. This is,
Sorry.
The dog's growling.
Wow.
He's
he's angry. I don't think I've ever heard him growl like that.
Oh, it's because it's funny.
If you fuck with them.
He sounds so much scarier than he looks or is.
Oh, well, that's the thing is that he doesn't know how to growl like that. When you go for a toy and he does this growl, it's because when I used to do that, when I would take toys away from him, I go. So he just
so
does
he's
what
learned.
Yeah. So instinctually, once in a while, he'll growl at another animal, and it doesn't sound anything like that.
Yeah. Which I'm like,
Yeah. It sounds like a real growl. This sounds like he's got indigestion.
oh, man.
True story. He once got babysat by Damon's landlord. They have kids. They loved Portillo. They wanted to babysit him. I came to pick him up one day, and it was like one of those things where you could tell 50 things were going wrong at once. Like the mom's on the phone, the two kids are running around screaming. And I'm like, what's happening? And the kids are. I'm trying to get this horrible story that's happening to the family from the mom. The kids are tugging on my sleeve, and I'm finally like, I'm sorry. I'm like, yeah, what's up, guys? And they go, why does Portillo burp? And I go, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? And when you squeeze his neck, why does he burp? And I'm like, what do you mean? And we would grab him around his collar, and he'd go, "Arr." And I was like, oh, he wasn't burping. He was growling. He was he didn't like what you were doing.
That's so weird. People are weird.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, the rigmarole, here it is. The Kind of Funny Gamescast is a weekly podcast about video games. It's like the Game Over Greggy show, but about video games.
Right, finally.
If that hasn't sold you, I don't know what will.
Oh my gosh.
Monday through Thursday, you can get it on YouTube, broken up topic by topic. And then Friday, you can get the full episode. But you can get the full thing early over at kindoffunny.com. If you go to the Patreon section, where it's patreon.com/kindoffunnygames.
Smooth cover.
I saved
Smooth
myself.
cover.
This is confusing, Greg. But there's a lot of places you can get it. You can also get it at kindoffunny.bandcamp.com for the audio version, vimeo.com/kindoffunny for the video version. Or if you don't want to pay us at all, you can get it later on that next Friday over at iTunes, SoundCloud, and all those other places.
Yeah.
Blueberry, whatever.
Is that a real thing? Blueberry is a thing?
Yeah, it's BLUBRRY.
Okay.
Some podcast service.
Okay.
People are like, when's it going to be on it? It's on it. So check it out. Rate us and stuff.
Plus day by day on YouTube.
Yep. I started with that.
Oh, did you? I missed
Yeah, I
that
did.
part. Sorry.
I did.
I
And for the people that are talking about us on the YouTube, we have different audiences, and it's something that's hard to address everyone's wants and needs because some people are getting it early, some people are getting the full thing later, and some people get it broken up.
Yeah.
This show specifically is hard because it's about video game news a little bit.
We go for big topics, but sometimes they spring from the news.
Yeah. And unlike the Game Over Greggy show, which is we're just talking about whatever, whenever, and it doesn't matter when you listen to it, this is a little more timely.
Yeah.
So people have been complaining, like, oh, we're getting their news 2 weeks late. The thing you guys need to realize is we're thinking about that. This show is evolving. We're learning from stuff. But the most important thing about this is it doesn't matter when the news happens.
It doesn't matter what
It's
your
more our
name
thoughts
is.
on the news and what it means for the industry and all that stuff. So even if stuff happened 2 weeks ago, it's still relevant.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know how practical it is. We're recording on, behind the curtain, Greg, where we're recording on Thursday. The show will go up for our Patreons or people that want to purchase it on Friday, and then everyone will start getting it on Monday. It might make most sense for us to continue to do it on Thursdays if we can, because it gets us close to the threshold, the event horizon, really, as we can possibly as it's close to the event horizon.
I think we just need. I think
like in other words, we record Monday and put it up Friday, and then people don't get it again until Monday. That is late. That's
see,
very
but the thing
late.
is, like, I think last week we just made a misstep, and the fourth topic was literally just, hey, here's news stories, and today our people are on the YouTube are like, this is really old.
Yeah.
This is the first time it's been like an overwhelming like, hey,
Exactly.
this isn't work. When we're about to launch into topic-based topics, you know what I mean? Topic-based segments. Shut the fuck up. I won't take any more of your shit today. Stop it, Colin. I think then we'll be fine.
Yeah. So this is gonna be fun.
fucking kill
It's an
this
evolving
kid.
show, and I definitely want your guys' suggestions. So let us know on Twitter at Kind of Funny Vids, at Tim Gettys, at Game Over Greggy, and at No Taxation. Let us know your ideas for the show, and if you have topic ideas and any of that, we would love to hear them.
I think we just have to record, like I said, as close to the event horizon as possible, and maybe even structure the show and so that the most newsworthy. Now I don't want to say most newsworthy because we don't bury the
most
lead
timely
typically, but
goes
the
in the
thing
front.
exactly, the thing that requires timeliness the most goes in front, followed by the thing that is least timely at the end.
Yeah.
Even if we're burying the lead,
All right then.
don't you think? I mean, that
No, it
makes the
sense.
most sense. Because
Topic number 1: Princess Diana died. She was being chased by paparazzi.
that happened literally 18 years ago. A long time ago. We're old.
All right. So topic number 1, which is slightly timely, today, the second episode of Telltale's Game of Thrones series was announced. The release date.
Right.
The release date was announced.
They showed a trailer. They said next week, 2 weeks from now, February
Yes.
3rd and 6th and shit, right?
Exactly. So we got the Xbox One and So the PC, Mac, PS3, and PS4 versions come out on February 3rd. Then the Xbox One and 360 will get it a day later on the 4th, and then Android and iOS will be getting it on February 5th. And then it keeps talking about how like it's continuing the story of the first one, obviously.
Right. Episode
And,
2.
It takes place between seasons 3 and seasons 5 of the show. And it's a side thing, but there's a lot of characters in the trailer. We saw Jon Snow.
Have
we
you
saw
played
all this
episode
other
1?
stuff. I did play episode 1.
Okay.
Episode 1 was my first Telltale game ever.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. I was interested at how much people seem to love Telltale games because I was like, I like this a lot, but like, we were talking Game of the Year contenders for those Walking Dead stuff.
But Walking Dead's different.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
have not played it.
All right.
But
What, Clem?
it's interesting to me that the gameplay of that could qualify for Game of the Year if it is similar enough to what I experienced in Game of Thrones. I did really enjoy it. The story's really cool, and there is enough there that I was like, oh, I like this. I wonder what different choices would have led me to and all that, and I get it.
Yeah.
But my question is, I know you two are big fans of the style of gameplay, at least, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like adventure games.
Yes.
But not
I'm a
all
huge
adventure
fan.
games.
Huh?
I'm a huge fan.
Yes, exactly. I know.
Just
that.
laying it on the table for people who are getting there.
So my question to you is how
First
to
taste of
best
this.
enjoy a Telltale game, because I want to play the Walking Dead games.
Yeah.
And I mean, at this point, they're season 1 and 2 are in the can, so
Sure.
I could just play the entire seasons,
Which I
front to
will be
back.
doing on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames next week. Or by the time you hear this week.
depending on
Yeah.
when you get it.
Or if you're listening to this for free on Friday, I already did it. You're screwed.
But is it best to wait and play the whole thing front to back, or is it best to play it as it's coming out?
Okay. Colin and I can sound off on this because we do it incredibly different. Colin waits until they're all out. He can do it at one fell swoop and go. And I do them literally the night they're released, with the exception of Borderlands, which I didn't get to for a couple weeks or days or whatever, I forget. But usually in Walking Dead specifically, and let me talk about Walking Dead because I think that's the easiest one. For me, that is an instantaneously, I must consume it immediately because I feel like in the same way DC Comics and Mizzou and Superman are very much me, Walking Dead is very much me. You know what I mean? And with that in mind, I want to be part of that conversation immediately. And for me, that's where Telltale games differentiate themselves from other video games, right? Where it's like, I haven't played whatever. I haven't finished Transistor yet, and that's not a big deal because for me it was the gameplay of Transistor, which is really fun, and I want to go back. The story's whatever, that's cool. I like the narration, so on and so forth. But Telltale games are strictly story, right? And so for me, Telltale is episodic TV, which means when I finish it, I immediately want to talk to Mitch Dyer. I want to hit up Mitch, and I want to. What used to happen with The Walking Dead is that when I was reviewing him, I'd play through him, see every choice, then I'd wait for him to play it through on his main storyline. Then we'd go to coffee, or we'd go into a room and sit there and just talk about what happened. And then when he reviewed him this last season around, same thing. I'd play through my canonical playthrough, then we'd go in and I'd ask him all these questions about what happens if this happens, and what did you do when Bonnie said, and you know what I mean, all these different things like that. And just tear them apart and have them be part of this conversation, and have what so many people do on message boards, right? Where they get in there and get invested in these characters and talk about what they think is going to happen next and da-da-da-da-da. For me, The Walking Dead Telltale games are a story I care so much about that I want to be instantaneous with everybody else so that I can have a conversation with everybody about it as it happens. You know what I mean? That's, for me, part of the experience. And granted, like, it's different for me because, you know, like, not only was I reviewing season 1, I would then go and do Talking Walking Dead, or Walking Talking Dead, whatever we call them on IGN, where me and Mitch would talk about them. And then this last time we were doing Playing Dead, so I was like interviewing the cast and the crew, and then Mitch, and like, you know, there's all these different things where I was even more motivated to be a figurehead, somebody who knew everything about this franchise and series as it went. That for me is what a Telltale game is. It is that experience and that story, and being just being so caught up in it that all you want to do is think about it and talk about it. And when you were talking like playing Game of Thrones, like, could this be game of the year? For season 1 of The Walking Dead, it was so fresh and it was so different, and it's not apples to apples, I feel, because you know who lives and dies in Game of Thrones, right? And so now you're getting introduced these new characters and these new families, and you're playing as a family that's not in the TV show, right, or whatever. But it's like, okay, cool, so they could die at any moment, and the fact that I'm jumping around so much means I'm not really getting in a rhythm of liking these people. I'm just getting ready for them to roll over and do something, right? Whereas Walking Dead season 1 is you're Lee, and this is this girl named Clementine, and all your sole focus is to protect her. And so to go through that and have those moments of like, I don't know what's going to happen here, or how do I respond? That's where that gameplay and those emotions and everything else comes into play and makes it a different experience than I think what Game of Thrones is.
Mm-hmm. So Colin, you take this a little differently. What's your approach?
Yeah, I wait till everything's released, but there's pros and cons to this approach. First of all, I think we were talking about the game of the year kind of contention for the original Walking Dead season 1, and that makes sense within the context of the time. That was 2012, right? 2011, and no, it's 2012, and it makes sense within the context of what Telltale games were before that, because. If you didn't play, I only played a little bit of Jurassic Park with Greg, but if you didn't play something like Jurassic Park, or you didn't play something like Back to the Future,
or Sam and Max, or
Sam and Max is fine, but The Walking Dead really was next level for them. I mean, the engine still sucked, but like the storytelling was really good, and it's an IP we care about and stuff. So I think within the context of what Telltale did with that particular series, I think it made sense. I think Journey was obviously the clear winner that year, but. Yeah. And that kind of goes into what you're saying in terms of like, or alluding to, which is like these games don't really play that well either. Journey wasn't really a game you played.
Yeah,
it was much as an experience, and so like they're similar games in that respect. But I waited until all 5 episodes were out, and then I played them all in one day. I played them. It was actually over 2 days. It was like the afternoon before Thanksgiving that year, and then Thanksgiving morning I beat it. And then I played 400 Days, which is the interlude when it came out between the seasons. The con is that if you wait long enough, you stop caring, and that's basically what happened with Walking Dead season 2, where I was like, I'll just wait. I'm excited. I want to play it. 400 Days was interesting. It was kind of unnecessary. It's basically like cash in, but
100%. Well, I don't know if 100% that it wasn't necessary. I don't think it was cash in. It was just like, hey, let's do something weird and different.
I think it was
try mechanics.
I think it was definitely a cash in. But and just to remind people like, oh, it's coming. Like we're doing something.
That's true.
But the nature of me waiting for season 2 meant that by the time season 2 episode 5 came out, I was like, I don't even care. Like I still haven't played it because it's another game on my backlog, and I think we'll talk about that later. But it's like, I don't have time to even get to that anymore. So maybe it made more sense for me to play them one at a time. The thing is that Telltale flies by the seat of their pants. It's as obvious as the day is long that they like really have no idea when their games are coming out until literally 2 weeks before they come out. Or a week sometimes. And we used to get emails and talk to people. It's like
very soon,
and then out of nowhere, it's like it's ready. It's because they're really.
Anytime you see them teasing a trailer, you are within 2 weeks of the game. Mm-hmm. And then when today's trailer, I thought it would be that next week was going to be the week, and then they're like, no, it's 2 weeks. I'm like, all right, but that's totally Telltale's
still very
MO.
close.
Yeah.
So in other words, if it was like a kind of a more like Resident Evil Revelations 2 is actually really brilliant because it's episodic. I think it's 4 episodes, and they're just doing it every week because the game's done. You know what I mean? And like that's kind of what I wish they would do with The Walking Dead or with these other games, is just be like, the game's done and now we're going to release them once a week or once every 2 weeks. And if you at least had a cadence, then it's like, okay, the rhythm is, every 14 days a new one comes out and then I'll play it as they come. But I don't want to play the game and then wait 3 months. I mean, literally the time between the episodes is totally random and it's not consistent. So that's like what turned me off from playing them as they come out. But
what's interesting is I feel like it's true what you're saying is totally true, but the way they release games and the amount of games they're doing, which we've talked about before on podcasts, it makes them relevant all the time. You know what I mean? Like outside of Beyond, when we're talking about like PlayStation exclusives, and when we're talking about Uncharted or Naughty Dog all the time, even when we don't know what Naughty Dog's working on, we're talking about them being a great developer, right? Telltale is always relevant in the conversation, which is fascinating in the way that all of a sudden they're doing it, and it makes them, like I was talking about, not even so much a developer as much a network. They are a network, like a TV network, right? They have so many different programs going on. Again, we're this elite gaming race, this master race of video gamers who need to play everything. So we've talked before about, like, is this formula getting worn out? Da 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 da. Sure, for us it is, because we're like, let's play everything. But when you are somebody who just cares about Game of Thrones or just cares about Walking Dead or just cares about Fable, then it is like just this different thing to keep you talking and thinking about this.
And what's cool about that too is like once you get hooked into it, then you're kind of, if you like it enough, you're interested in going back. Like for example, I'm just not a Walking Dead guy. It just never grabbed my attention, and it's not something, I haven't read the books, I haven't watched the show. It's just not my thing. Game of Thrones, got into the show, started reading the books, and now it's like the game, like, oh, I gotta give this a try. Everyone loves Telltale, and I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm very excited for the second one coming out. And I'm excited enough that I'm like, I want to play the Walking Dead games because everyone liked them, and like that is enough for me. So the TV channel thing is kind of, it's a really good analogy there, because when you watch a TV show, it's like you want to watch more TV shows. You watch one, there's the lead-in show, and then you're gonna watch the show after that and all that stuff. And it's just like I'm getting hooked on this Telltale business. And Telltale's cool too, is because they are just a bunch of different franchises that everyone knows that are mainstream franchises, and they're making these games out of them. I feel like their audience is so varied.
Right.
And wide. Every
very
game has
audience.
a specific audience, and like I have a lot of friends that aren't gamers that know the Walking Dead game and do play it, whether it's on their iPhone or their Xbox or whatever.
And that's the other thing for Telltale. As much as we talk about how shitty their engine is and how their games barely run and da 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 da, it's like that because it's one of those lowest common denominator things that the thing will run on anything, and that's how they get their games out to all these different people, all these different platforms, and maybe that's to their detriment in terms of how it runs. But in terms of market impact and people knowing and money, they seem to be doing just fine.
That was something that was shocking to me playing through the first episode. I was like, there was a lot of issues, just technical issues with like how the game ran. And I was like, it's weird. Like I'm playing this on a PS4 right now, but then I understand that it's like it has to play on 10 different systems.
Right,
so
right,
it's
right.
like it isn't optimized just for the one that I'm playing on.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
The one thing about you asked, the question was like, how do you play them, right? Like I also want to point out that for me, how I play Telltale games, like literally how I play them, is different than how I play most games. Where I want to walk in, I want it to be dark like I'm in a movie theater, and I usually want headphones. Other games I'll play and I don't need all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, but I want surround sound, but and I have the speakers and stuff out there, but I don't want to ruin it for Colin or whoever else is home, Christine usually or somebody. So I'll come in here, I'll shut the door, and I'll put on headphones and have it be dark and play. You know what I mean? And that's like my main concern about how I'm gonna run. I think when I Twitch stream my first playthrough of Game of Thrones, right, I'm gonna have to ignore the chat. You know what I mean? Just not chat, because I don't want anybody to ruin that experience for me. But I do want people to be a part of it if they want to watch it.
I definitely want to stream mine too.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. There could be different choices.
We're both the purest ones.
No. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get nasty. Especially if getting nasty with Marjorie is an option.
You're not gonna get that.
Marjorie
You
will
won't.
remember that.
You're not gonna get nasty with Marjorie.
I love Marjorie.
I know you do, but I'm telling you that's the thing, and that's one of the detriments of bringing in established characters.
Who's Marjorie? Is she
the best character in Game of Thrones? The one with the smirk?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. She played Anne Boleyn in The Tudors.
Yes,
The same
yes,
chick.
yes,
I
yes,
love
yes.
her. Oh my god,
Natalie
I love her.
Dormer.
I'm in love with her. Yeah, she's hot.
Something
man.
special.
She's
Yeah.
really hot. Yeah.
But you won't get it on with her.
Hey, don't tell me what I will or won't do in Telltale's Game of Thrones.
I'm just letting you know
Episode
that's
2.
not gonna be an option. I bet.
Well, I'm excited for it. And so earlier you were saying that you don't want to wait that long between episodes, and you were saying that in the whole thing you have to wait and then see how all the characters are doing their thing and stuff. For me with Game of Thrones, it's like, even though we don't know these characters, that's what I like about Game of Thrones is even if they're not the Starks or the Lannisters, how many characters or families have been introduced in the show that you're like, I don't give a crap about these people. The Red Priestess and all this, I don't give a crap about you, and now you do because now
Oh
you know them
sure,
and stuff.
no, I get that, and I'm not trying to take away from that. I think those feelings are coming, but this is very similar to me. Like this is getting back to my own hang-ups about high fantasy or whatever, right? And just the fact that like I played through Game of Thrones episode 1 and I enjoyed myself, but this is what I was driving at earlier when I was talking about this Walking Dead being a special situation. Played through Game of Thrones episode 1, I could not, if you asked me right now to write down the characters' names and who they are, and I can't do that.
Couldn't either, but I couldn't from the show.
Yeah, it's true. That's what I'm in. But this is my thing of like, I think Game of Thrones might be, and I'm talking about them being a network and consuming them differently and enjoying them differently. Game of Thrones for me might be one that I would have enjoyed more if I just waited for everything to be out. Because in the same way, I remember watching season 1 of Game of Thrones Sunday to Sunday.
Yeah.
And Christina and I dropped out. We'd come back and every show would start, and I'm just like, I don't know, who's this guy?
Yeah.
What is this guy's connect? I don't know, blah blah. And then we dropped out. And then season 2 started, and it was amazing. And we went and marathoned. And when you can watch everything back to back to back to back to make those connections, to remember, oh, that's what this person did, and see it play out in a quicker, stance. Like I'm always talking about, like how the writers envision it when they write it. They write this story, and they think you're gonna have the same hooks throughout, and you lose those week to week. That might be the difference for me in that game to make me care more about those characters. But looking back, of course, it's like even with Walking Dead season 1, like the way I felt about Kenny in episode 5 isn't what I thought about at introduction of episode 1 when I was just like, who's this hillbilly? Yeah.
With Game of Thrones, it's definitely an investment, and that show took me like I had to watch the first episode like 4 times to even care. But then I started watching it, and like every single character looks like Robb Stark, and you're like, all right. But then eventually you're like, oh, it's the Red Lady. Oh, there's like these nicknames that come up, and you're like, all right,
the Red Lady, everyone's favorite.
Yeah, and you get these things, and I just hope that by the end of the Telltale Game of Thrones series that there is those nicknames you give some of these characters who are like, oh, it's that person, it's that person. These characters exist. And the fact that they make the whole world, it is the Game of Thrones TV world. And it feels like it. And because they have the voice actors and the likenesses and all that stuff, I love that because I feel like I can almost treat the games as if they are it's another season of Game of Thrones. And I'm like, all right, I don't know these people, but I bet you I'm going to care about them eventually because I always do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.